Hello, and welcome to Real Books Don't Have Batman.
Because they don't.
I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And welcome to our second ever web show. This is our... Now we record everything. We put it on GAUstudios.com's YouTube channel. So be able to, if you want to see our beautiful mugs instead of just listening to our faces.
There's probably the one fan who's only listened to the episodes, never seen the webisodes, so this will just be mind-blowing. So that's what they look like.
So Deshaun actually wears the hat all the time?
All the time when he's sleeping in the shower?
All the time!
At the same time?
But guys, welcome to Real Books Don't Have Batman. I'm really excited to start talking this week. Deshaun took forever, so he didn't get to read anything in store this week.
I didn't get to read Iron Man, and that was the most important.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll start off with Iron Man because, of course, you mentioned it. So this is the, I don't know if it's the end of the Malekith plot line, but it sure feels like it's the end. Like, it definitely wraps up this issue. Finally, all the Malekiths show up at the end of last issue, and they're gonna, I mean, not the Malekiths, all the Mandarins show up to kick Malekith's ass, and like they because they're pissed that he's been misusing the Mandarin power, and they kick his ass, like, which is kind of awesome. And he runs to Iron Man for help, and for a moment I was expecting it to be stupid. I was like, all right, he's running to Iron Man for help. This is gonna be kind of dumb. I don't know how Iron Man's gonna fall for Malekith's tricks. But instead, Malekith just goes up and goes, okay, I'll give you a ring if you fucking make these guys leave me alone. And he's like, what's the trick? And Malekith's like, no trick. Like, and then Iron Man makes him write up a whole, Iron Man makes his assistant write up a whole NDA that Malekith has to sign. So that way he doesn't get screwed by some, like, elven loophole. Which is probably the best part of the entire thing. Just to be like, can you sign this NDA? Mandarin's like, Malekith's like, yes, like, immediately. And it's fun, and it's cool to see it wrap up, but this plotline's way too good. Like, I like it so much, the Malekith and the Mandarin plotline. It's kind of sad to see it go.
Because now you're just like, well, what do we got to do next? This stupid plotline they brought up about Tony Stark's long-lost brother.
They go right back to the old brother stuff. They go right back to it. And he's going to use Extremis or something, which is just kind of dumb. It's just like, I'm going to use Extremis.
It just happens to be that I have a long-lost brother. And it just so happens that he has his own suit. And it just so happens that he's going to get Extremis in his veins.
Yep. Stupid. Just happens. So, like, I want to give this book an 8 for being such a strong ending to that plot line, but it loses points for almost being a 9 because it kind of goes off into its own stupid drivel at the end. Instead of being like, strong ending, it's like, plot line we didn't do. So, like, that's the only part of it that makes me go, okay.
Iron Man fans are going to be so mad at you.
Yeah, I know, but it's good Iron Man.
We love the character. We love Tony Stark's long-lost brother.
Nah.
We don't care that he's contrived. We love him.
I just haven't read it, so I really can't say I love it. I just kind of took it as like a, all right, like, whatever. After that, I read, there was another Marvel book I read, Winter Soldier, The Bitter March. I think this is the 4th issue of it, and this is really cool. This issue's awesome because they finally really show off the bad guy that they've been doing. They've had this bad guy that's been there that's just, he seems like a very pasty Nazi. He was very white-skinned, and, like, he didn't seem like he was anything big until, like, all of a sudden people started killing themselves around him. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out he drains their will to live from them, which is interesting. It's an interesting ability because he's not actually killing them. They want to kill themselves. Right. So it adds to the craziness of it because he makes Winter Soldier remember who he is. He remembers he's Bucky. And, like, then he starts to have flashbacks of Cap, and then he's mad because he really let Cap down. And then all of a sudden you get to see Winter Soldier turn into Bucky and actually hand some ass to people. Like, you know, like he's not like I'm Bucky Barnes now and rips off his mask. He just goes, he's like, I'm letting Cap down And then he starts calling everyone soldier, and like just like Captain does, which is kind of fun.
Starts tripping balls, having LSD flashbacks, turns into his older self.
It's good though, like because all of a sudden you're like, yeah, that's the reason why you took over for Captain America, because you're like, you are Captain America.
The
otherwise.
actual like original Winter Soldier storyline did a good job of showing that Bucky wasn't just a sidekick, like he did all the dirty work.
Yeah, and I really like that he like in this plot line we got to see him go from the killing machine to actually getting kind of deep underneath Bucky and seeing what he would do if he could remember that he wasn't just Winter Soldier, you know? And that's what I loved about this whole series. I hope this series keeps going, because they make it almost feel like it's a mini-series. They're like, well, we had it for Winter Soldier coming out. Like, they almost make it feel like that. So somebody down below, please comment, let us know. Is Winter Soldier: The Bitter March a limited series, or is it going to keep going? It's Brubaker. That's the reason why I love it.
It was a series beforehand, before they dropped it. Now we have this.
We'll see. I hope so. I hope it keeps going, because it's good stuff. Fantastic art. Another very solid 8. It doesn't really reach 9 for me, but it definitely is a very solid, fun read that's worth it. Next up on the list, we go from some very solid 8s to Future's End. Yep. Yep. So, again, this book starts off with Frankenstein. And you're like, yeah, boy! And they mostly summarize what Frankenstein's about. Like, if you never read Frankenstein's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Which you should, because it's great.
But you don't have to anymore. You could just read the first couple pages of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of Shade. No, I don't mean that. It's called Future's End. Because literally the beginning is just them being like, this is what Shade is. This is where Shade is now. You know, like, and they explain a lot, and it feels very expository, but you're kind of like, I don't care, because it's Jeff Lemire writing it, and you're kind of, there's Ray Palmer showing up. Amethyst is now working for Shade, which is just funny.
What?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's the only part that made me go. But Frankenstein's funny. He's like, I cannot believe you would be with this filth Shade. Like, Amethyst is like, you don't know my life. Like, and that's like,
that's a direct quote, right?
Direct quote.
That's exactly how it goes down.
That's exactly how it goes down. But like,
I don't know what you're talking about. This book sounds amazing so far.
But like, that's great. And really cool. And like, totally worth it, because it's so Jeff Lemire. Like, you're like, if you love Frankenstein Agents of Shade, that was it. Like, that it was literally from that book, just put in Future's End, which is cool. And then it goes to something really stupid. 3 B-list, maybe C-list villains. The only one I knew was Plastique, because she blows up bombs. But the other 2, I had no idea who they were. And they were coming up with a plot to steal something from Mr. Terrific's compound. And like, but the entire scene, they don't do anything. They just have a talk and a sit down, and they explain their characters. Dumb. Because I don't give a shit. And I have no idea why it connects to anything other than he's going to steal from Mr. Terrific. And then the next thing, I don't even remember what it was, because it was so goddamn forgetful. Like,
forgettable.
Totally. Like, absolutely, I don't give a shit what the fuck happened at the end of that book, because it was so boring. I don't even remember what had happened. It was just like, the Plastique thing happened, and then it went into more crap. Like,
I'll take your word for it.
Like,
I told you I wasn't going to read anymore.
But Jeff Lemire.
That just proves that Frankenstein Agent of Shade should have been canceled to begin with.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's like, hey, you shouldn't have canceled my shit. Like, is basically what Jeff Lemire is saying and showing off here. But otherwise, this book is just more padding. Is basically it. It's another week where they could have told a plot line, but they padded out. Oh, that was the end. Grifter. It was more Grifter stuff, but it was all just padding. Like, for a moment, you think he's doing something important because he's killed a lot of demon... Well, how does he pronounce it? Daemonites? Like, what? Daemonites? Like, it's supposed to be demons and with knights, like, slugged in. It's supposed to be one word. I don't know. It's whatever Grifter fights. I don't know what they're called, because they don't affect any other part of the DC universe. Why? Because they're not a real problem. Just saying. I'm
starting to get really angry.
I'm just saying. I'm starting to get pissed at Grifter, because, like, I didn't like when I first got into comics, it was around, like, got into comics, what I mean by, like, read comics weekly, was around Flashpoint and the start of the New 52. And Grifter had his thing during Flashpoint. I remember thinking, who's this guy? And reading it and going, I don't care. I wonder if that'll apply to anything else. And it doesn't. And it still hasn't. We're now 3 years into me reading comics constantly, and I've never once ran into what Grifter fights. Like, in all of my DC comics, unless I'm reading a Grifter comic.
Wasn't he like a Wildcats thing beforehand?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't care. I don't care. I just don't think they should use them. They're literally wasting their time on stupid characters that don't matter in Future's End. And, like, if you didn't care about Frankenstein's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Shade, you would be pissed at this issue because it's so... and has nothing to do with anything.
Boring and padded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the other ones.
So if you're a fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., fucking read the first part of this. Then rip out the other parts and burn them. That's it. Like the rest of it's not worth it. So I want to give it, okay, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. part, 7 out of 10. The rest of the book, 4 out of 10. That's all I'm going to say.
So I say add those up and divide them by 2. That's 11. 11 divided by 2.
Yeah, it's just because it's the rest of the book's bad. It's just bad.
Right.
Which is just, it's so upsetting, because I think we've said every week, because Future's End had potential at the beginning, and now it's just shooting itself in the foot constantly and puking all over itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not good. We're finally out of what I read in store today. What did you first pick up? What's your book?
Deadpool, number 29, the original Sin tie-in.
Yeah.
Though, to be perfectly honest, not really.
Not really at all. Because this one's just about Deadpool and his wife. Not really anything really about going bad.
Kind of same old we had last issue, which is a pity because look at this cover. That's pretty, like...
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. But the thing is, this book's more really just about, like, finally Deadpool has to deal with that he married the betrothed to Dracula, and that's going to be some consequences.
Yeah.
It's going to have some consequences.
There's going to be some annoyances coming his way. And, you know, the usual Deadpool stuff of him fucking with everyone in the Marvel Universe.
Absolutely. Because, you know, Bruce Banner's now working for S.H.I.E.L.D., so he has to screw with...
He has to screw with everyone.
The good news is that Preston's back in this issue, and you could tell Deadpool's been missing Preston, and that...
Have you been missing Preston?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. I've been like, there's a dynamic there that I thought was going to go completely missing, and I like that they didn't fully get rid of it. The other important thing about this issue is that it's got Dazzler in it.
Yeah, Dazzler.
Yeah, why is Dazzler in this one, though?
Because we have to have an excuse for Deadpool to yet again go have a flashback issue.
Yeah.
For him to go back in time. Because Dazzler has a cool concept, but she's never, like, executed well by anyone. Because she's got light powers. There are so many applications that we don't even know light can do.
Yeah,
I mean, look at stuff like Cloak and Dagger.
Absolutely. I was going to say that, like, I think a lot of light-based characters get shafted. Like, think about the Ray. The Ray got shafted at the beginning of the New 52. Does the Centauri have light powers, or is he just, like, God powers? I don't know. But, like the Ray and others like him with light-based powers all the time get screwed. Like, and I think that Dazzler, just because she's got a terrible 80s name, doesn't mean that she should be totally screwed.
And I mean, it is kind of cool to have just a mutant who has light powers who just wants to sing. She just wants to help her career. Though those are the old days.
Those are the old days. And the thing is, Deadpool's going right back to him because he ain't going to let Dazzler forget them, or at least Marvel forget them.
And because Dugan and Hussein just love going back in time.
Yeah. And my favorite part about this is that, of course, all Deadpool does to go back in time is drop himself into the Baxter Building and then steal one of the Fantastic Four's, like, just random lying around time travel machines.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I love that. I think that's hilarious. And I love Deadpool, and I love the direction it's going, but this issue is definitely a very we're starting something type of issue.
I think for that, I think it deserves an A because it's still on point.
Yeah.
I just don't think it was as funny as the last issue.
No, absolutely.
More of the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up on our list is the Flash number 31. The Flash number 31 picks up where we left off last time.
So more back in time stuff over here.
More back in time stuff. But the cool thing here is that that Barry just goes around, kind of just solving mysteries, doing stuff. But that's not really the cool part. Cool part is Future Flash is here.
Future Flash, who's gone back in time to the present and has a fight with Mirror Master, breaks his arm. Among other things.
This might have been a really quick read for me. I read this really, really fast. Like, I just think that there wasn't much writing going on. But that's not exactly a bad thing. But I feel like it just kind of was... When it was on the Barry stuff, it didn't really know what it wanted to do. Because it's just like... Yeah, Barry has a hard time being a cop. You know. But then... But once it goes to the Future Flash stuff and there's the fight with the Mirror Master, it's pretty fucking awesome. When that starts off.
Aside from that, we just have Barry, trying to bond with Wally as a favor to Iris.
And as a favor probably to the fans. Like,
yeah, really.
It's like
I'm among those fans. I'm a big Wally
Where's
fan.
Wally? I just want to see Wally, even if he is a 13-year-old boy. That doesn't do shit. But he'll do something in the Future's End issue in September.
Yeah.
You saw that.
Or sometime later in the actual book.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, I don't know. It's an okay read.
Yeah.
It's nothing too exciting.
I don't think it's as exciting because we already got that from the last issue.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, Future Flash going back in time, that's so cool.
And he's a motherfucking badass.
But now he's in the present, so it's just like, okay, now we're slowing down.
Yeah, which is not where you thought the plot would really take off.
But
it
unlike
kind of
Future's
doesn't.
End, it didn't.
No, absolutely not. I just want to give this a 7 because it isn't too fantastic, but it definitely, the Future Flash stuff make it a worthwhile read.
I agree.
Absolutely. Next up on the list is Aquaman number 31, or as I call this, Aquaman and Swamp Thing. And
everything you could want in a comic.
Oh my god, if you love not so well-known comic characters, this is the comic for you. Aquaman number 31 is pretty goddamn sick.
Yeah, because you and I both love Aquaman.
Both love
you
Aquaman.
and I both love Swamp Thing. The mixture. Fantastic. Beautiful.
Fantastic. Beautiful. It's great stuff. This issue's great because, Jeff Parker knows very classic... He writes very classic Aquaman, very classic superheroes, and what he does here is write a very classic Swamp Thing. It feels very Alan Moore-ish in a way. It feels
because he's very holier than thou in this issue.
Absolutely. He just soliloquies at them and says, "I am not just a man.
I am life."
Yeah. It's sick, and the fight here probably gets my fight of the week.
Probably the fight of the month. This was badass.
This was badass. I love this. It probably is next. Is probably one of the 2 fights this week that I would be like, you gotta go check out this fight in comics this week.
Because we both know how OP both these characters are, especially Swamp Thing.
Absolutely, and this is just an OP fight. Like, they show off their best abilities, and it's sick. And the other thing is that the Mira plotline, which you thought would just be boring, padding, really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, Mira going to an underworld of Atlantis. You already thought Atlantis was underworld enough? Nope. It's got its own underworld.
Underworld.
And they're a bunch of Hicks conservatives and crazies. And they want to kill...
Even Atlantis has that.
Of course. People are people.
But it also does help that Mira's just a great character.
Yeah.
And Mira.
I love her. And see her fighting electric heels isn't bad.
Fighting electric heels and Aquaman summoning alligators to try and eat Swamp Thing.
Yeah. 2 of the best things in this comic is just that would be pretty cool. The alligator thing is fantastic and totally worth
comic books.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Comic books.
If you love classic comic book action, this is it.
Stuff that only comics can get away with.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm gonna give it a 9.
I'd give it a 9.
It's just pure fun.
It's just a blast.
Yeah, if you've been like, man, do I love Aquaman, but he doesn't show up in Justice League enough. Should be reading Aquaman.
I want other stuff.
Yeah.
Two other characters I love so much. I want Dr. Fate versus Etrigan.
Yes. Etrigan got his own book last week. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, it was a one-shot. It was thick. It was like this thick.
Who's writing it?
It was somebody I had no idea who it was. That was the reason why I was so scared to pick it up. I was like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you did with my Etrigan and why it's so big. Like, I was so like, what is this? But somebody down below, please comment, let us know if it's good, and I'll probably pick it up tomorrow.
Because, Etrigan.
Etrigan. Next up on our list is Batman Eternal number 8. Now, this book has not slowed down. Future's End, padding.
I mean, spoilers for the raid, but this book is still good.
This still good. Great. You don't even need to hear the plot. Fucking great. 10 out of 10. Podcast over. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, goes last.
I'm just kidding. It's nothing to... It's not as fantastic as this, is basically. We'll get to it. But Batman Eternal number 8, the art is being done by Guillaume March, and I love it. I think he makes a fierce-looking Batman. He is one angry, pissed-off son of a bitch.
It just makes me miss when he was the main artist for Talon.
Yeah, he did a good job, and I love that he's now doing some Batman Eternal work. And, like, this Batman Eternal is so great because it flawlessly goes around all its plots, and it doesn't feel like you're jumping from plot to plot.
It doesn't feel jarring when it jumps to plot, and when it goes to something, it doesn't feel like it's stretching and padding because this is a weekly series. Gotta keep it going.
No, they are literally just like, oh, Batman has a problem. Let's hope that Batman can solve it. And he, like, goes and does it. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no, like, I wonder if Batman's going to have a problem convincing the commissioner to work with him. Batman just shows up on a roof and goes, hey, work with me.
So far, I don't think any issue has felt like it's been a waste of time.
No, there was the one issue that was mostly written by Tim Seeley that was more padded out. The one with the ghosts.
With the nanobot thing?
Yeah, the nanobot thing. That was a little weird. But this one's, the script is by John Layman. And, John Layman, I gotta say, is definitely... I think if I had to rate all the Eternal guys, it would go Scott Snyder, James Tynion, Ray Fox, and John Layman are kind of the same.
Kind of equal. Tim Seeley's the one that you're really
You're kind of like, what are you doing, Tom Seeley? Tim Seeley, what are you doing? But I think all of them together are, like, the thing is, there's no totally weak writer on here. Like, everyone is... solid.
It feels like everything is cohesive because it feels like these guys actually, I've seen like pictures on Twitter of like Scott Snyder having meetings with the other writers of just like plotting this out.
Yeah.
Future's End does not feel like that.
No, not at all. It looks like it's like they're not even working together. I also, the character development in this book is absolutely well done. Like, so well done. Like, that's what really stands out here is that they were able to introduce this new cop Bard, and I instantly liked him. And now he's just growing and growing with each page.
8 issues in, and he hasn't really had much focus aside from, like, little scenes here and there. But he's a very intriguing character. He's a middle ground.
Yeah, I like it. I like that he's trying to work with what he has to do, but he understands that Batman isn't exactly the bad guy in this situation.
Yeah.
And he's not exactly, because a lot of times they introduce a new character to just be your scapegoat as the audience. Like, to ask the questions you need to ask to do expository. This guy's not that.
And I'm glad this guy is here, because we've already seen, like, the guy who takes place. It happens in Dark Knight Returns, the guy who takes over for Commissioner Gordon. He's like, no, Batman, no Batman.
Yeah. And here it's different. It's like we at least get some controversy, and it seems a little more insane. Like, instead of the... no Batman, he's a bad guy. This guy's like, no Batman, I'm gonna kill him. Like, and I kind of like that for this crazy commissioner. That it's more extreme than just like, I don't like Batman, I'm going to stop him. Like, this one's like, I don't like Batman, I'm gonna make sure he's dead.
Yeah.
And nothing's gonna happen whenever he catches people. Like, mostly negating Batman. And I think that's what's so interesting here is that now we have a commissioner that, like, negates Batman, so what does that change about Batman? Because Batman has to work within the law, but what if the law doesn't work within Batman?
Yeah. So, essentially like the old days.
Yeah.
But then 0 year for him was kind of an advantage for that.
Absolutely.
But we didn't even talk about Falcone.
Yeah, Falcone's great.
Yeah, Falcone's interesting. I've never been like so intrigued by Carmine Falcone.
No.
Even like in the original stories, Year One, Long Halloween, I'm just like, he's a mob boss, all right.
No, and like that's the thing is like he's been a stereotype before and just kind of like carries the mobster plot, but like here he's actually he's different. He's a little scarier. He's a little less. I don't know what the hell he's going to do next.
He's a little more. I believe that this guy took over.
Yeah, I like
this guy had Gotham by the balls
and was able to sink the Iceberg Lounge. I like that. I like that the beginning is just basically some guys trying to pick up gold from the Iceberg Lounge, and then Batman's like, nope.
Like, speaking of that, Guillaume March drawing Batman in this issue, he is so scary.
He is frightening. I like it. But I'm gonna give this another. I think this is a 9, because this is a.
I think it's a high 8 for me. I don't think it's quite a 9.
I think the art for me pushes it to a 9, because who doesn't like winking Batman? I think I showed it earlier, but I love this panel where he's just like, "Don't shoot me," like, and he's just like giving him a wink. It's kind of awesome. Like
he has a little smirk too. I think he should have had his mouth agape, just like.
That's what I want. I would have loved that. So I'm gonna give it a 9 because it's for a weekly series. I'm still impressed. I'm still impressed.
It's good.
And it's not going to just go on season break. That's the other thing that makes me go, oh, baby, I love Batman Eternal. Because I'm not going to be like, well, there's only 10 episodes in season 4 of Game of Thrones.
Eternal having like 52 issues?
Something like that. They said something ridiculous.
It's going to kill the long box, I'll tell you that.
Well, the thing is, what makes me laugh is that like they signed Scott Snyder at least till issue 50 on this. And then they're gonna get 50 issues out of him, like on Batman Eternal.
They're gonna milk some Snyder for what he's worth.
Absolutely, it's just like it seems like they were like, wait, we can get more Batman out of Scott Snyder, like
get all the money.
Wait, can I get more money? Because like this is the #1 selling comic of all, like of mostly every month, since the New 52 launched.
Compared to both companies, both the big ones, Marvel and DC. Batman's usually up there.
Batman still wins.
Yeah, it's never out of like the top 3
because this is one of the best stories in comics. No, like and I'm not just saying like now, like you should be reading this book now, which you should. But, like, this could be one of the best comic stories ever fucking put to
It ain't
cheap
finished
paper.
yet. It ain't finished yet, but...
This is fucking awesome.
This is up with Year One.
This is... Zero Year is a motherfucking
And, of course,
ride.
that's the only thing you can compare it to Year One, 0 Year. Year One.
But does it have Mad Max Batman? No!
Does it have Purple Gloves Batman?
No! Like, automatically, this is more awesome than Year One. Like, this is sick, because finally I think Scott Snyder really got to write Riddler. I think you said, like, when we were reading
that, it felt like Snyder wanted to write Riddler for the longest time. You got little teases, little tastes of it, like that one
like
moment
the giant puzzle thing.
Yeah, and the moment he has with Joker back in Death of the Family, with the backup as well. Like, he was waiting to do it. He really wants to sink his teeth in, and it is so worth it.
Absolutely. This is some of the best Riddler stuff ever written.
Yeah, it just further cements why, like, Riddler's always been number 3 for me after Joker and Ra's.
Yeah, because he really shows how sadistic he can be in 0 Year and how devastating he can be. Like, it's no longer just like, I got a crazy trap that's big. It's like, I'm actually going to kill you and everybody you love. And, like, it's
and I like
cool.
the idea that he's such a big deal in this continuity now, because that just means, like, in present continuity, everyone probably just sees him as a has-been.
Yeah, like, he did that, and now he's not so great anymore. And I love that, because, like, that kind of explains him, you know? Like, that kind of explains Riddler as we see him now.
That gives him a good motivation for the reboot.
And again, I have to say it, the colors. Ugh, it's so beautiful.
Who's a colorist? Same person, because it's not Danny Mickey.
Nah, but it's
Danny Mickey's the inker, yes.
No, it's so good. Who is
FCO, the FCO. Still don't know how to pronounce this, but colors, beautiful. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Fucking gorgeous.
Fucking
stick around.
Yeah, like the art's incredible, but
I mean,
it really is
like unique to 0 year, but I don't want it to go away when we go back to the present.
Because those colors just pop.
I want everything to look like a sunset.
No, because like look at these scenes are incredible, and you're right. It exactly is just sunset. Like there's the dark blues, the hot pinks. That like it all just snaps forward, and I love the way all of it even stands out against the Riddler's suit. Like the Riddler's suit even pops off as a different type of green than you know. And
in case you needed any more convincing, Batman finds some fucking lions.
So that's. This made me laugh because this is another example of Scott Snyder doesn't give a fuck about animals. Like, he will fight.
Horses, dead. Lions, dead.
Like, I'm waiting till what else Batman will fucking kill in this series.
And as we said before, there's also a nice little lesson for the kids about physics.
Yes, because Scott Snyder understands classic comics. Classic comics, well, Danny O'Neill, I think, said it best. He's like, you know, you gotta teach somebody something to be able to...
There's a little snippet.
Yeah,
Scott Snyder. I didn't know how pupils can crack depending on love and hate. Thank you. I didn't know about this little physics lesson over here.
And I think it's...
I didn't know that owls were a main predator for bats.
Yeah, absolutely. Little things that make you go... I'm smarter now because I read a Batman book.
Thank you, Scott Snyder.
And that's what's so great about it. The little flashbacks he has during the fight, with the lions, are weird. They're the only part of the book that make me go, what?
No, that didn't bother me.
It didn't bother me.
That was already established beforehand that he was like. Don't you remember that one scene where he was talking to that girl out of the window, trying to sneak into her room, and he had the same thing that happened to her? Right. She got the gunshot wound.
Right. So he just sees them dead around him. He just it's morbid because, and I think it's interesting because we're dealing with an older Bruce, and we mostly deal with whenever we deal with Bruce, we deal with really young Bruce Wayne, literally right after the parents were killed, or we deal with really trained Bruce Wayne. And
there's never the middle ground.
Never the traumatic.
You never see him growing up. You never see him in boarding school.
You don't see the traumatized child.
Yeah.
And that's what they're showing off here, and that even adds more depth to it all. And that's what's so fantastic. And I think the lion fight with Batman is just on the same par for Fight of the Week as Aquaman and
Aquaman Swamp Thing.
Because
Batman versus some fucking lions.
It's kind of fucking great. And it's like, I'm cool with it.
Another thing that year one doesn't have Batman fighting lions.
Nope, it doesn't. I think it's great. I love this book. I think it's wonderful. I don't want 0 year to go.
I know. We were so stuck with just oh man, another origin story. Oh my god, it's lasting 11 issues, and now we're just don't go back to the present.
Yeah. No.
Let's just go. Let's just do everything up until New 52's obsession with the 5 year.
Yeah, we got 5 years to cover. Yeah. Let's cover those 5 years. But that's the point of Batman Eternal.
I just want to see how the hell he goes through 3 Robins in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean that would be cool, interesting to look at. But I think that's the point of Batman Eternal is this is the future and the current
to
time.
Hold us off for present.
Yeah, and that's so maybe.
I mean, it's probably going to tie into Eternal by the time we get back to the present, kind of like that little sneak peek.
Yeah, issue 28.
Bluebird.
Yeah. So I hope so because I want Bluebird. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was on a Reddit conversation this morning saying that somebody was like, Bluebird's my new favorite companion to Batman. I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, they're just counting it as just Harper Row in general.
Yeah, I hope so. I want more Harper Row. Yeah. That's basically
more Harper. We love Harper.
Yeah, basically. But 0 year number 31, what would you give it?
10.
10, people. 10. I go in a comic book store, I pick up my comic, I read it, I go 10 out of 10, best comic I read all week.
Only $4.
Absolutely. So that's it, guys, for Real Books Don't Have Batman. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching our ugly mugs on this screen. Please hit the subscribe button down below so you can get more Real Books Don't Have Batman. Also hit the follow button on SoundCloud. Like us on Geeky Universe, Rhymes with Geek, Comic Podcast Network, Comics Related.
Man. Everything. Everything except iTunes.
Yeah, we're on iTunes.
Oh, we are on iTunes.
You didn't know that?
I keep forgetting that.
We're on iTunes. So if you're like, I like using the podcast app, we got you covered. We got it. It's free. Get it for free. Everything we do for free. Just download it, basically. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys for all your support. Thank you for everything you guys do. We passed 30,000 plays on SoundCloud this week, and that's really all you guys.
We love the support.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It just surprises us that people actually want to hear us.
Yeah, serious. We're always like, wait, somebody commented on our video?
Well, I mean, that's why we started this. Instead of just rambling just between you and me, let's turn it into something productive.
Yeah, and at least let other people comment on it. But thank you guys, and have a great week.